Welcome to a little elaborate fun networking with fish. This is the BGP show and tell third part of the BGP show and tell snippet. And so what we're going to do this time is we're going to go ahead and we already have the IPv4 when we last left snippet number 2. We have the IPv4 address over here. It is showing up in R3's rib table. And then we also have the IPv6 address that is making its way all the way over here and then showing up in router 3's IPv6 table. So what we're going to go ahead and do in this one is we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did in number 1. In show and tell number 1, we did the eBGP session between R2 and R20. This time we're going to do the eBGP IPv4 and IPv6 session between R3 and R30. And unlike show and tell number 1, we're going to make sure that R30, I can promise you that R30 is actually pointing to the right autonomous system number. So again, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do that. So let's go to R3, and we're going to do a config T, router BGP 10, and we're going to do a neighbor. And so if we come over here, it is 30, and then 3 is router 3, which is on the right. 30 is router 30 on the, router 3 on the left, router 30 on the right. Fourth octet is 30. Autonomous system number is 30. So the neighbor is going to be 30.3.30.30. And then the remote AS is going to be 30. And I also would like to make sure, I would like AS30, and actually I want to do timers, timers of 1 and 3. So let's talk about what that actually means. What I want to do is I want to have a keep alive timer of 1 second, and I want to have a hold down timer of 3 seconds. So, and we'll just go ahead and ignore the error message. So send community. Right. So send community is actually going to be under the IPv4, and I was very good at doing that before. So let's go ahead and do a activate. Whoops-a-daisy. And also we're going to do a send community. Now what we did before with show and tell number 1 and with show and tell number 2 was I made my IPv4 BGP peering session, and we followed all that through, and I made that separate than the IPv6. The reason why I did that for show and tell number 1 was specifically because of the fact that I was going to do that sniffer trace, and I wanted to independently take care of it that way. What we're going to go ahead and do this time is just also, as we're configuring our eBGP peers between R3 and R30, I do know that we are also going to be doing an IPv6. So let's go ahead and do that as well. So neighbor, it's 2001, Dog Baker 8, and then I always make in my environment, this is router 3. I'm talking to router 30, and my the last IP address is the router that I'm talking to, so remote autonomous system 30. And again, I would like my timers, sorry about that, I would like my timers to be 1 and 3. And under address family IPv6, I would like to do an activate, and I would also like to do a send community. So let's go ahead and do a show IP. We'll do the IPv4 first. Okay, well that's not working. It's idle. So let's go ahead and look at the V6 one. Okay, that's idle also. So let me, of course, from show and tell number 1, you know what I did, right? What I did was I had done a sniffer trace. That's what I'm doing again. So by having this administratively shut down, when I know shut it, the sniffer trace will go ahead and start. So, and then we'll capture anything that comes from R3. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, no shut it. And then we're going to go ahead and the BGP peer, both the eBGP IPv4 peer as well as the eBGP IPv6 peer will go ahead and start to come up. So I should be able to now do a ping to 30.3.30.30, and I can, and I should be able to also ping 2001 Dogbaker 8, 3, because I'm router 3, that's router 30. And so my IP addresses are good, so let's do a BGP, and it's still idle, okay? And let's do a, so they're both still idle. So clearly, I, again, have done something evil to us. So let's go ahead and do a show logging on this, and I might have the other stuff that's still in here. So let's do a show logging and go all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so yes, of course, now again, both for I am getting a notification. So router 30 is telling router 3 that we have an unacceptable hold time. So again, this is another notification. We are eBGP. We have an unacceptable hold time. Remember, I actually had the timers as 1 and 3. So clearly, it does not like this. And it is the same thing for IPv6, unacceptable hold time. So let's go ahead and go over to R30, do a show run, begin router BGP. And what you'll see is I actually have 3 and 9. Now, I could do 3 and 9, and if I didn't actually have that additional thing at the end, so this is XR here, so it looks a bit different. And so let's do a timers. So again, the keep alive, which was 3, and then the hold time. Now, that third number right here is actually the minimum acceptable hold time that we are going to permit from this neighbor. So router 3 is trying to do a hold time of 3, both for IPv4 and IPv6, and that is clearly not going to be allowed. And that is also what's happening under the IPv6. So I have a timers 399. So again, you wouldn't know that because it's not going to tell you that. And so let's go ahead and do a show run section, BGP. Again, if you haven't listened to the other ones, these are aliases. So let's do a router BGP 10. So since they're not going to actually allow us, let's go 3 and 9 because it'll actually work. 3 and 9. Again, I'm evil. So let's just go ahead and also know that when I do the clear IPBGP, because I am actually doing a sniffer trace, the sniffer trace that we just did is going to have the clear in it, but since it's not working between us and them anyway, who cares? So now I actually have R3 has 3 prefixes that it is learning from R30, 6x, and 2 prefixes that it is actually learning from R30. So let's go ahead and see if they're in the routing table. So let's do a BGP. So again, what we're looking at is we have just, so let's look at the IPv4. So 40.100, 100.40 is actually getting advertised from here up to router 20, over to router 2, and then back down. The internet is from here to 30 and over here. So we're going to focus on 40, 100, 140. So if we look at 40, 100, 140, we have they're both originating in Autonomous System 40. And this is the one right here that we are learning from our peer router 2. And this is the one that we are learning from R30. The one that was selected as best, as you can see right here, is actually the one that is being learned from R30. Now, why would that be the case? So the reason why that would be the case is because so what we can see is, if we actually look here, is we can see that we are having two prefixes that are learned. And we have the one that's coming from, they're both originating in 40 and 40. So why would that be the case? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring this up alongside. So this is, I came up with this silly thing because I'm not good at memorization, so I have to come up with little tools. So the BGP best path decision-making algorithm has some other stuff in play. However, it is weight, local preference, locally originated, AS path, origin, MED, eBGP versus IBGP, next hop IBGP cost, IGP cost. So the weight is actually the same. You can see for both of them, the weight is actually a 0. So if we look at this, the weight is actually a 0 for both of them. Local preference for both of them is actually 100. Locally originated, we're going to actually skip that instead of me explaining it. AS path is actually 2, which is I can either go 2 autonomous system hops here, or I can go 2 autonomous system hops there. So they are equal. Origin, they're both IGP. MED, MED is actually, it's like, okay, forget it. And then eBGP, so the MED, this is 0 and this is like nothing. And then, so then it's eBGP versus IBGP. So because of that, this one right here, since it is external, is being picked as the best. So what is going to happen is R2 is going to view that its best path, because everything is the same, all the way down to the decision-making choice of eBGP versus IBGP, and we have not differentiated anything higher in the BGP best path decision-making. R2 is going to prefer 40, 100, 140 via its eBGP peer, and R3 is going to prefer it via its eBGP peer. And this is going to hold true also for IPv6. So we're looking at 201, Dog Baker 8, 40, 40, 40. And so if we actually do this and then put this in, network not in table because I forgot the 2 there, so let's try that again. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go down and down and down, and local preference and weight is 0, blah, 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 blah. And again, we're going to go all the way down to external. So external is the best one. So basically what's going to happen is, again, R2 is going to prefer R20 to get to these 2 prefixes, and R3 is going to prefer R30 to get to these 2, as opposed to R2. So what we're going to do in the next snippet is, it's going to be a very quick snippet. What we're going to do is we are going to actually break that link between R2 and R20. And it's going to be a very quick snippet. And if you remember a little bit about what we did with show and tell number 2, that's your hint, you will know what is going to happen there. So stay tuned. Hope you're having fun with this series, and catch you on BGP Show and Tell number 4, where we're going to go ahead and we are going to kill this link.